In this video, you will learn how to use Flutter and Dart in 1 hour. The only requirements you need is to have already installed Flutter. First, I will show you what we will build inside this 1 hour video. You will have a bottom navigation bar. You will be able to navigate through different pages. Then inside the home page, you will have another navigator to go inside another page where we will use multiple widget with Flutter. At the end of this course of 1 hour, you will be able to do pretty much anything with Flutter. So let's start this right now. We will start by going inside the extensions. If you have Visual Studio Code, then you will need to have this awesome Flutter snippet extension. You can enable it and install that. The purpose of this one is you just write this little code, stateless W, and this will create a big chunk of code for you. You will see later, I will show you, we will use this one. The next extension you will need is the material icon theme. But this is a preference. I will show you right now what this does. If you go inside the Explorer, you will see that you have some icons before each files. And this is the purpose of the material icon theme. I think it's pretty cool and it's up to you. So what we'll need to do right now is go inside the library and you will have the main.dart. Okay, this is where all the magic with Flutter happen. You see all this code is what create this counter app application. So what we'll do is in this 30 minutes, I really want to show you from absolute scratch. So we will delete pretty much everything and keep only 5 lines. So you will see that this is the main and this will run the application and this will be our application. So we need to create a class, my app. I will show you how to do this. First thing first, you will need to say stateless So you just have to write something like this and you will see it. If you don't have this pop-up like I do, you can just press Control space and the pop-up will be there. If you need more information about something, you can click the arrow and this will give you more info. Otherwise, you can use the arrow down and up just to navigate through this. So we'll use the stateless widget. Once you have this, you will need to create this class named myApp. So we will replace name. I will press Ctrl D to select the other one, and we will write myApp. So now we don't have any errors anymore. If we refresh the app, restart the app, you will see we have a black screen, and this is normal. So I just want to tell you, you have the hot reload and you have the restart. Restart will restart all the application. Hot reload will just refresh the screen. Sometimes you can just refresh the screen and it will work to see what happened in your app. So the first widget you will need to use. And before we start, I just need to tell you, Flutter is widget over widget over widget. Simple as that. This is a widget. Everything that starts with a capital letter is a widget. And everything that starts with a small letter will be an argument. We will call this an argument. You will see later. So first thing first, we need to have the material app. This one, if we just set state like that, if we click the hot reload, you will see that now we have the little debug banner like this. Okay, but we still have the black screen. So the material app, the goal of this one is to have access to all the theme inside your app. By example, if you want to have the theme blue, the theme green or whatever, I will show you how to use this later. So the next thing you will need to do is you can press Control space. This will give you all the options that you have. So as I told you, this is arguments because it's not a capital letter. And you will use this one, the home. In the home, what we'll do is we will say, we'll use another widget because this is a widget. Again, widgets start always with a capital letter. So it's always like that. It's a widget, an argument, another widget. Inside, we will have other arguments if you press Control space. It's very simple, Flutter. Okay, so you have the scaffold. Now we will save. I will press Control S. And when you save, this will automatically trigger the hot reload. So now we have a white screen, which is pretty cool. So the scaffold, what is the goal of the scaffold? You will see that if you press Control space, you have the app bar. The app bar is what is on the top. So you will have on the top the title of your application. Then you have the body. The body is all the center of the app. And then you have the bottom navigation bar. This is the bottom bar to navigate through the application. Okay, so now you will see right away that we have a little problem. If you go over something and you go at the end of this, you will see that you have the problem, prefer const with constant constructor. And you can click quick fix. This will solve your problem by adding a const modifier. Okay, you will see that this have been add the const before the material app. The goal of putting const just means that this will never change. This is a constant and it will never change. And Flutter is now happy. Okay, now what we'll need to do is create a stateful widget. So stateful widget, this one. I will press enter and this will create all the code for me because we use the extension, as I told you. We will call this one the root page. You can call it anything you want. And now we still have an error. We will say quick fix. And this, we will add the const. Okay, so the goal of the stateful widget, this means that the screen can be reloaded with something new on the screen. So if the user clicks something changed on the screen, we need to refresh the screen. That means we need to use a stateful widget. It will not work with a stateless widget. Great. So what we will do now is we will replace the scaffold with the root page. So I will say root page like this. And if I reload or restart, whatever, you will see that now we have a black screen. Try to understand why we have the black screen and how can you put it white. Otherwise, I will do it right now with you. So the thing is we don't have the scaffold anymore. We have the material app, but we still need the scaffold. So we will return, instead of the container, which is a widget, we will return the scaffold. And now if we save, Control S, or you can reload, you will see it's now a white screen. Now you can see that we have an error and we need to put a const. So I will just write const before. Okay, so we have this. Now we need the theme data. But first I will show you how to use the app bar. So as I told you earlier, you have three things inside your scaffold: the app bar, the body, and the navigation bar. Let's use the app bar arguments. Again, this is a widget. This is an argument. And in the argument, we need to put another widget. It's always like this. And widgets start with the capital letter. So I will say app bar. Inside, we will put an app bar. If you want the suggestion, you just press Control space again. And now we have a problem. The problem will be the const, I guess. So the constructor being called isn't a const. So now Flutter is telling us we need to remove the const because we have added something that can change. Okay, now if we save, you will see that we have the bar on the top. Pretty simple. What we will do now is I will show you how to use the material app and the theme color. But keep in mind that if you press Control space, you will see multiple other arguments. I will say theme like that. So if you use theme, and you can say theme data like that. And now we have a problem because we will need to remove the const. How do I know this? It's just because if you go over, you will see that if you go at the end of this, you will have the error message. The constructor being called is in the const constructor. Okay, so we just need to try to remove the const. Very simple. Flutter will always tell you what you need to do. So you remove this, and then you see the error. And I already know that this is because we need to put a const. Okay, so now in the theme data, what we'll say is we will use the primary swatch. And this one, you can use a color. And we will say to use a color, it's like a widget with a capital letter. So you will say colors with the S dot, and you can put anything you want. We will say green for this one. And if we save, you will see that everything in the app is now green, like the app bar. Okay, so at this point, what we need to do is we will remove the little debug because this will be activated when you are running the application in debug. But it's pretty ugly, so we will remove it right now. Inside the material app, you press Control space and you will have multiple arguments. But how do you know which one is this debug? So let's try by just writing debug. And you will see that you have three options: debug show check-in mode banner, show grid, and semantic debugger. But the one that makes the most sense is this one. But how do I know what I need to put inside? That's a good question. And to know what you need to put inside each argument, you just go over the argument and you will see that it will tell you you need to put a Boolean, and a Boolean is a true or false value. So I will say false. I don't want to see this. And now if I save, Control S, or just reload, we don't have the thing anymore. Okay, so we have done a couple of things right now. The next thing we will need to do is inside the app bar, I think we will work a little bit more on this one. So if we go inside the other app, like this, you will see that we need to have a title inside the app bar. So we'll do just that, the title, then we will do the floating action button. So we'll go back inside the other app, and now we need to have the title. So in the app bar, you will say title, by example. Here we go, we have an argument title, but what do we put inside? If we go over title, you will see that you need to put a widget. A widget. And there is a widget to write some text. It's very simple. It's called the text widget. So you write text, and what is inside the text, if you go over, you will see that the text take inside a string. It's the first thing that go inside, a string. So a string is just a value text. And to put a string, you need to put those little bracket, quotation mark, and then you will say, by example, Flutter. If you save, you will see Flutter on the app bar. I will put the const before, and we don't have the error anymore. Okay, the next thing that we will need to do is we have this, we will do the floating action button as I told you. So I will use the argument floating action button. This one will have a widget inside, so you will see a widget. We'll use the floating action button widget. So you always have to choose the one without the bracket and the one with the bracket. I always use the one with the bracket because it will already put the required argument inside. So you see that we need the unpressed. So when we press on it, what will happen? For now, we will just put an empty function. And to put an empty function, you just write something like this. Great. I will put the comma, and now I will show you something pretty cool. First, if you want to get rid of this little bar, which is something annoying when you code, you can just press Ctrl B. If you want to have access to the terminal, you can press Ctrl G, J or G, whatever. So you will have this, okay? And I will put it back like this. Great. Now, another thing I want to show you is you can automatically put the bracket at the good location if you put the comma like this. So if I press right click and I say refactor, sorry, it's not refactor, it's which one? Format document. This one, Shift Alt F. I usually use the command. And you will see that this will replace your code. But if you don't put the comma, so if you have two brackets without the comma, this will put the bracket on this side if we do the format document. You see? So always make sure to put the comma between two different brackets. Now I will use the command Alt Shift F. Here we go. So the next thing that we need to do is we have the floating action button. We will create a little bit about the floating action button. So if we reload, you will see that we have the button, but nothing is inside. We don't have an icon and nothing happened when we press on it. So we will say the child. The child is what will be inside the widget. And this will be an icon widget. To put icon, you will need to put icon. Inside you have the icons dot, and you have multiple icons that you can use. So if you click the arrow, you will see all the icon shape. If you go down, you see this is snowflake, this is a clock, a person, and everything like that. We will use the home icon. Do we use the home? We can use the add or whatever. So this will just add like this. Okay, I will have the const also because it's the constant, and that's great. Now I want to show you the debug print. So we'll use the debug print, this one, and the debug print will just print something inside the terminal. So we'll call this the floating action button. Okay, And you see at the end, we have an error. And this is, if you go over the error, you will see that expect to find the semicolon. That's why I know that I need to put the semicolon. Every time you have mistakes with Flutter, error, for example, if I delete this comma, I have an error, and this is telling me expect to find the comma. So you will always have the solution with Flutter, pretty much always. Okay, so now if I reload or save, if I press on this button, this should trigger a text inside the terminal. We will open the terminal again with the Ctrl-G, and you will see that when I press on it, boom, we have the floating action button that has been printed in the terminal. Okay, that's cool. Next thing that we want to do is, now we have the floating action button, we will now do the how to create a variable. So to create a variable, we will go over just before the build and the override, and we'll say this is an int, and we'll call this one the current page equal to 0. So now we have created a variable, and we need to put it before the build, because if you put it inside the build like this, then every time you refresh the screen, this will rebuild everything, and you will always have the value 0, so it will never work. I will put it back where it was, like this. Okay, now we have created a variable current page, and we can create a bottom navigation bar. So to create the bottom navigation bar, we will go inside, after the floating action button, we'll say bottom navigation bar, and now inside we will say bottom, we'll use the navigation bar, so navigation bar like this. Here we go. This one will take destinations. This will be the navigation destination. I will go a little bit faster right now because we are already at 17 minutes. Okay, so now you see that we don't see everything well in the code. So what I will do is I will put all the comma, and I will format document like this, Shift-Alt-F. And now we need to put an icon. The icon, if we go over this, take a widget icon. So we will create a widget icon. Inside we have icons dot something. I will remove this because I don't like to see this. And the icon will be the home icon. The label will be just a little string, because if you go over, you will see that this take a string, and the string will be home. Now I can just put a constant like that, and we don't have the error. If you reload, you will see that you have an error, and the error is currently telling you the solution. You see that the destination is not equal to null, which is true right now because the destination is not null. But it also needs to be greater or equal to 2. But right now we have only one item inside the list. This just means it's a list in Flutter. So we have one item inside the list of destination, which means we'll create a problem. So we'll copy this one, paste it, and instead we'll say profile or person, I think, person, and we'll call this one a profile. Let's save. This will reload, and now we have the bottom navigation bar, but we can't click on it. To click on this, what you will need to do is after the destination, you will say on destination selected. This one will give you, if you put the function, so this one will trigger a function. Inside, you will see that this will give you a new int. So you will say int, and this will give you the index of the current page. All you have to do is say that because we have created the variable earlier, the current page is now equal to the index that the code give us, and we put the semicolon. So now let's save, but if you press on it, you will see that nothing happened. And the reason is because we don't use the stateful widget yet. To use a stateful widget and to reset the screen, to refresh the screen, you need to use something called the set state. And this is the set state. So you will put the current page inside this one, you will format document, you will save, and now when you press on profile, still nothing happened, but this is because there's another problem. And the other problem is if you go inside the arguments, you will see that the selected index need to be what we have created, the variable current page. And now if we save, you will see that now the bottom navigation bar works really fine. Okay, the other thing that we need to do is, I would just want to show you if we remove the set state, here we go, like this, and we restart the app, you will see that it will not work. So when I press on profile, nothing happened because we don't refresh the screen. I will put it back like this, and now we have created a bottom navigation bar, which is pretty good. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, we have done the floating action button, bottom navigation bar. We will create a home page for this one. I will go inside the Explorer, or you can press Ctrl B, and you will go inside the library, create a new file. We'll call this one the home page.dart. Just make sure that you don't use capital letters and you use this to separate each word. I will press enter. This will be a stateless widget because nothing will change on the screen. We'll call this one the home page. And now you can see that we have a problem. If you go over, you will see that if you press quick fix, this will suggest you to add the material import. You always need to have the import flutter material.dart. If you go inside the main, you will see that at the top of the file, we have it because it was already given by Flutter. So we have created a new file. You need to put the material.dart, and this will give you access to all the widgets with Flutter. Pretty simple. So now what we'll need to do is go inside the main, and when we will press on a button, this will, what we'll do is we'll go inside this scaffold, and in the scaffold, right after the app bar, we'll use the body, and in the body, we'll put the home page. I will save, and I will put the const before, and I will save again. Okay. So now we have the home page that is inside the body. So I will go inside the home page and we will return a center widget. Center just means that this will be in the center. Next, the center widget have a child. The child is the next widget inside. And this one will be an elevated button, just like that. The elevated button will take an onPress. I will just put this on the side. Great. The onPress will be an empty function for now, and the child will be a text widget saying, by example, elevated or next learn Flutter. Let's say this. Learn Flutter. I will format document. Now we have two brackets without the comma. So I'll put the comma, format document. I will save. This will add the button, and I will add the constant just because Flutter asks us to do this. Now, what we want to do is navigate through a different page. To do this, we will create another page again. We'll say new file. We will call this one learn Flutter page.dart. You need to put .dart at the end to tell that this is a Dart file, just to be clear. First, we will import m. Import m is a quick way to add the material.dart because we need this one. And in this one, what we'll do is we'll create a stateful widget. So let's create a stateful widget. We will call this one the learn Flutter page, like this. Now we need to put a constant. I will save, and let's try to navigate through this page. We'll go inside the home page, which is the body of the main currently. And we will say inside the onPress, we will say navigator with a capital letter, navigator.ofContext. You just press like this, of context, dot, and you will say push. So this will push another page over this one. And the route will be a material page route. I will put this on the side so we can see better. I will put the semicolon and the comma. The builder. What is the builder? If you go over builder, Flutter will tell you what you need to do. You need to put a build context. So I will put, so if I go over, you need to put a function build context, sorry. So you create a function. Okay, that's the function. Inside, you need to put the build context, which we will call the context. Okay, next thing you need to do is you will need to return, and you will return the page that we have created. So it's the learn Flutter page. And I put the semicolon, I save, I use the const, because Flutter asks us to do this. I will put the comma right there, because now I will format document, and everything is very clean. Okay, so now I will save, and now when we press on this should trigger a black screen. And the reason is because we don't have a scaffold anymore, because we have created another page over this one. So we'll say scaffold, like this, and the scaffold, scaffold like this, I will save, and now you'll see it's a white screen. For this one, we'll have an app bar. The app bar is the same thing as we have already created. We will have a title, which is a text widget. The text widget will have, by example, learn Flutter. This is a constant. So you will say const. I will save format document. And now we can go back inside this page. You click on this one, you can go back. This will automatically give you the button to go back inside the previous page. But if you want to control it by yourself, you can say leading, and you can say automatically imply leading to false. And I know it's a true or false because if you go over, you will see it's a Boolean. Okay, and next thing that you need to do is if you save, you will see that the arrow will disappear. But how can you create your own arrow to go back inside the previous page? I will show you right now. You will say leading, and the leading will be an icon button. This is a new widget we have just learned. The onPress will be an empty function for now. The icon is, we have already used this one. It's icon with icons dot, you can say back arrow, I guess. I'm sure we have something like this, arrow back iOS. Let's use this one. I will put a const. I will put the comma because we have two brackets. You don't need to do this, but this just makes the code way much cleaner. And now you have your button, but nothing happened when you click on it. So what you can do is you can use the navigator again. This is to navigate through the app, dot of context. And you need to pass the context because Flutter actually use the context to know like which page go which page. It's like behind the scene. Flutter use the context behind the scene to make sure everything works fine together. So you just have to always use the context. Dot, it will be pop, this one. And pop just means it will delete the page. I will put the semicolon. It will delete the page that was over this one. So I will save and I will click on it. Boom, we are back inside the profile, the home and the profile. If you click on it and you click on this, this will pop the page, make it disappear and bring like just show you the page before. Okay, so now we'll go inside this one. What we want to do is I want to show you multiple widgets that you can use with Flutter. So let's start right now. We will start with a column. So inside the app bar, right after we have the body. The body is all the middle of the app of the scaffold. And we will use a column widget. This one will use the children argument. And children just mean is the same thing as a child. If you remember, we have already used a child earlier. A child will allow you to put one widget inside, but now you have access to multiple widgets inside because it's a column. That's the purpose. And we will use an image dot asset. This one, let's call this one, I don't know, image slash Einstein.gpg. Oops, GPG. And we will need to create a file. So I will press Ctrl B. And right there at the end, I will just say it like this. I will say new folder. I will call this one image. I will press enter. And now you should have an image folder. What I will do now is I will take an image from my computer and I will drag and drop it inside the image. Now you will see we have an Einstein image. Can I close this? Yes, perfect. So we have the image. And now if you try to just restart the app, you will see that it will not work. If you click on Learn Flutter, unable to load the asset, because you need to actually tell Flutter that we have created an image folder. For this, you go inside the popspec.yum, like this. And inside the popspec.yum, you will have, if you go down, the asset. So you will click just before the A, you will delete twice, 1, 2. You will go right after the hashtag, you will go 1 on the right, and you will delete twice again, 1, 2. It's very important that you put it like this. Next, you will delete the this, and you will just keep the image dash. You will click on Flutter get package just to refresh everything. And now if we restart the application, it should work. Maybe it will not. And if it doesn't work, you just quit the application, you stop, and you restart it by saying run, start without debugging. So I will go inside Flutter Learn, and we have the image. Pretty cool. Next thing that we can add inside this, we can add a sized box. So first, I will just use this before. I will say const. We will use a divider widget. The divider widget, if we save, so I press Ctrl S, this will trigger this one. This will create a little line right under the image. It's pretty hard to see, but you have just a little line like this. Maybe what we can do is go inside the arguments. We can say colors dot black, for example. Maybe we'll see it better. Here we go. You have the little line. Next thing you can do is another widget, is the sized box. So sized box, this will just give some box that will take some space. So sized box, we will use the height argument. If you press Ctrl space, you have 4 arguments. The height will be 10, and that's pretty much it. I will save. Now you see that we have a little spacing. I will redo it. So if I delete the sized box, you will see that the divider, when I will save, will go just a little bit up. I will save right now. Here we go. So this create, if I put back the sized box, this create a little spacing of 10. I will save again, and you will see the bar moving. Here we go. Okay, the next widget we need to talk about is a container. So the container is pretty much like the sized box, but you can put multiple other things inside. So if you press Ctrl space, you will see you have multiple other arguments. So the first one we will do is I want to change the color of it. So we'll say colors.blue-gray. Okay, I will save. And now we will need also to put something inside, because if we just hot reload, nothing happened because the container don't have any size right now. So I will put a child. The child is just the argument that you can put another widget inside the container. The widget will be a text widget, like this. And the text inside will be, this is a text widget, whatever. I will save, I will put my constant because it's a constant. And now you see that we have the container over the text, which is the blue-gray. I will show you other things right now with the text widget. You can actually change the color of the text. And for this, you need to go inside the text widget. You put your comma and you press Ctrl space to have multiple arguments. The one we will use is the style. We want to change the style of this. I will press Ctrl B just to remove the sidebar. Okay, the style, if you go over, you will see that this takes a text style. So we'll say text style. Inside this one, we'll say color. This is an argument. Color, it will be colors dot, and we can use white for this one. I will put my comma. I will put another comma right there. Format document, save. And if you forget about what is format document, you can just go right there. You will see if you right click, you have format document, and it's a Shift Alt F. So inside the container, next thing I want to show you is you can change the height and the width. So we'll use the width. And if you want to have the width at maximum possible size, you can use something called the double.infinity. If we save, you will see that this will take all the place possible. And now we can use the refactor over the text widget, because the text widget is not in the middle. and we have a widget for this called the center widget. So I will go over the text widget, I will right click, and I will say refactor. Now this will give us multiple options. We can just wrap with another widget, or we can use the wrap with a center. I will click on this, and Flutter will automatically put all the bracket for us. Now we have a problem, and I pretty much think it's the const. The const need to be at the higher level possible. Here we go. If we save, the text will now be in the middle of the screen, and this is way better. Okay, other things you can do inside the container. You can change the margin. So I will say margin. This is a edge and sets.all, or you can use other things, but the edge and sets is what go inside the margin. And you just put the value. I will put 10.0. I will say that this is a constant. And if I save, you will see that, is it changing anything? Yeah, you have we have now a little spacing around the container. But you can also put a spacing inside the container. And this is the padding. The padding will have the same thing inside. It's an edge and sets also. I will replace this. And if I save, you will see that this will create a padding between the text and the container. Here we go. So that's pretty much it for the container. We will move on other widgets. So after the container, we will use the elevated button. We have already used this one earlier, but I will show you again to you. So the onPress will be an empty function for now. Inside we can put actually a debug print. Is it working? Debug print. And inside we will just say elevated button. I will put my semicolon, format document. The child will be a text widget. And inside the text we will have, we can say elevated button also. Elevated button. I will save. I will put my comma between the two brackets. Another comma. Format document. I will add my constant. Great. So now we have an elevated button. If we open the terminal with Ctrl J or G, whatever, you will see that we have elevated button 8 times. If I press on it, this go up. Okay, that's cool. I will press Ctrl J again. And now we have created the elevated button. I want to show you other style of button that you can use. The other one will be the outlined button. So I will just copy all of this because it's very similar. I will paste it right under. We will replace the elevated button by the outlined button. And now we can just replace the text. I will select this. I will press Ctrl D and I will replace this by outlined button. This is another type of button with Flutter. Okay, I will show you a third type of button. This one is the text button. So we'll just add this one. I will replace outlined. I will select Ctrl D, and we will replace this by text. So now if we open the terminal with Ctrl G, you will see that when I press elevated button, this print the elevated button, outlined, and the text button. Great. Okay, so next thing that I want to show you is how to use a row. So we will use, right after the text button, a row widget. And I'm sure you can guess what happened. It's the same thing as the column. You can add multiple widgets one after the other, but it will be horizontal instead of vertical. So in the row, it will take also the children argument. This is a list of widgets. Again, this is mean list. And inside, you will just put, we will use the icon with a capital because it's a widget, icons dot, which one will use the local fire department. Local fire department, that's great. I will put all my comma, format document, and now we need to put the constant. So I will say const, I will put it on the top. Perfect. Now I will copy and paste this one twice. I will save. And you will see that we have two icons, one after the other in a row. Okay, we will add another thing inside. This will be a text widget. So I will just copy this text, paste it, and we will call this one the row widget. Row widget. So if we save, we have this row widget, but it's not centered. And to center something with column or row, you have arguments. If you go in the row, you can press Ctrl space, and you have the cross-axis alignment and the main axis alignment. It's super simple. It's super simple to understand. So the row, what is the main axis of a row? A row is this axis. So it's not vertical, it's horizontal. So we want to make sure that this is going in the middle in this axis. So we'll use the main axis alignment. We will use the widget main axis alignment dot. We'll use the space evenly. I will save, and now you will see that this is spaced evenly between all widgets. But you can use other things, by example, center, I guess. If I save, you will see everything is centered. Okay, I will put back the space evenly. Now let's say that you want to change the color of the icon. This will be pretty simple. You go after the icon and you just press Ctrl space and you have the color. We'll use the colors.blue. And I will do the same thing for the other icon. If we save, we have the blue icons. Now, what if we want to trigger something when we click on this row? Because right now, every time we click, nothing happens. We can wrap the row widget. I will right click, refactor, and wrap with a widget. This widget we will use is the gesture detector. If you just start to write and you press Ctrl space, this will give you the option, gesture detector. Now we can save, and this one will take on tap, but it takes multiple other things like on double tap, on force press, and everything. But the most simple one is the on tap when we press on it actually. We will create an empty function with this, and when we tap on that, we want to trigger the debug print. Like this. The debug print will just say, by example, a gesture, or we can say, this is the row. Okay, we'll put my semicolon, save. And now if we open the terminal, you will see that when you press on the icon, which is in the row, this will trigger the this is the row. But if you press anywhere not inside a widget, nothing happens. Okay, so if I click on this, the icon, you will see this is going up 5, 6, 7, 8, and it's go up. But if I click somewhere not on the widget, it will not work. Let's make sure that it works everywhere on this row. And for this, you will need to go inside the arguments of the gesture detector and use the behavior. And the behavior, if you go over, you will see that this takes a hit test behavior. I will copy this, paste it, and say dot, and you have 3 options: the differ, opaque, and translucent. I will use the opaque. If you save now, every time you click anywhere on the row, now it will trigger the this is a row. Good. So I will put back this with the Ctrl J, and the next one that we want to learn is another widget called the switch. I will put it right after the gesture detector. Again, make sure that every time you add another widget inside the list, which is the list of column. This is a list. Every time you add a new widget, just make sure to add the comma. Next, we will use the switch widget. This will have a value. For now, we will say the value just is true. And on change, this will trigger a function. And you see we have a problem. This is because if we go on change, this trigger a function with a boolean inside. So you just need to say boolean. Now we can say new boolean, by example. The new value that this gives you. When you press on it, the switch, this will give you a new value and you can do something with it. So I will just save and you will see that this is a switch, but it's not working right now. To make it work, we will create over the build and over the override, we will create a boolean is switch, for example, equal to false when we start. Just make sure that this is before the build because otherwise it will always be false every time the build is rebuilt. Let's go down again with the switch. We will replace the value by the isSwitch value we just created. The unchanged will then give us a new value. So we can just say isSwitch is equal to the new Boolean with the semicolon. But this will not work. So I will save and I will click on the switch and nothing happened. Can you understand why nothing happened? So otherwise I will just tell you right now. If you remember, we are inside a StatefulWidget, which means the screen can be refreshed. That's great. But to tell Flutter that we need to refresh the screen, we need to use the setState. So just before the isSwitch, I will say setState. I will put all the condition inside and I will format document, save, and now when we press on the switch, it works really fine. Another thing we can do is we create some sort of conditions. If the switch is open, then change the color of the elevated button to blue. Otherwise, keep it this color, green. So let's do this right now. And this is all controlled by the isSwitch, which is a Boolean. So we'll go and find the elevated button, this one. And to change the style of an elevated button, you will need to go inside the arguments. You will write style, and you will recall the name of the widget, elevated button dot style from. And now inside you can use the primary, which will be the primary color, and you can say colors dot blue for now, just to show you the color change. Here we go. You see it's now blue. But how do we make sure that it changed with the switch? We can say isSwitch. So this will create a condition. So isSwitch, if it's true, so the question mark means if this is true, then put this one, so the colors dot green. And otherwise, this one mean otherwise, put this color. So if we reload, now the color is now blue, and if we switch it, it's now green and blue. It switch. Okay. And after this, we have another widget at the end of the switch I want to show you, and this one is the checkbox. You can use a value also, so we'll do the same logic as the switch. If you want to go inside the isSwitch, you can press Control and click on this. You will see this will bring you straight to the Boolean. So I will copy this and I will paste it right under. This one will be called isCheckbox, called as false when we start. If we go back down, you will see we have the error, so we can just click there and we have where we are. The checkbox, the value is now isCheckbox. The unchanged, this will trigger a function. Again, inside if you go, you will see this is a function that gives you a new Boolean. So we'll say Boolean and new Boolean. And you can see that we have a problem. If we go over, this doesn't work because this gives us, sorry, if I go over unchanged, this gives us a Boolean which is nullable because the question mark after a type mean it's nullable, which means it can be null. So we just need to put a question mark. If we go over the switch, the unchanged of the switch, it's only a Boolean, which is not nullable. Okay? So that's the little difference. Now we can say setState because we want to refresh the screen. And we can say the isCheckbox is equal to the new Boolean and the semicolon. Now we have a problem. And Flutter is telling us a value type Boolean nullable can't be assigned to a variable type Boolean. And the isCheckbox, if we click Control, click, this will, we can see that it's not nullable. It can only be false or true. But now if we put this, the isCheckbox can now be null also. And we don't have problems anymore. I will reload everything. I will restart the application and let's click on Flutter, Learn Flutter, and you have a checkbox which is functional. Okay, that's pretty cool. The next one I want to show you is an image coming from the internet actually. So, oops. So I will copy this. switch, we have the checkbox, and right under, I will format document first. Right under the checkbox, I will say image dot. Last time we have used the asset, now we will use network. And inside you just put the URL of the image. I will paste this URL and I will save. And if you are not sure how to put the URL of the image, you can just open like Google, go on the image. You can click on this one, by example, and then you just click right click, open image in a new tab, and this will give you the URL, .jpeg. If you have a very weird URL, then don't use it. Find another image that finished by GPG or PNG or something that makes sense. Okay, so I have used this image, and now we have a problem. You can see that we have the yellow and black lines. This is because the screen is not scrollable yet. We need to tell Flutter that this is scrollable. So we go over the column. I will go on the top. We have the column. We will refactor and wrap with a widget, which is called the single child scroll view. Control space to see the option. Single child scroll view. If you hot reload, now it's scrollable and everything worked fine. So this page is pretty much done, I will say. What we can do is we can come back. Oh, one thing I want to show you also is you can add buttons inside the app bar at the end. So we will go inside the app bar, and inside the arguments, we have something called the actions. And inside this one, you can add a list of icon button. So we'll say icon button. This one will have the onPress with an empty function. We can just use inside the debug print just to show you that it worked fine. Debug print, and we will say the actions. Actions. Okay, I will put the semicolon. This required an icon. For this, we say icon with a capital letter, icons dot, and we use info, by example, info outlined. Column everywhere, just to make sure it's clean. Format document. And now we have a problem. We just need to put a constant. I will save. And when we click on this, if we open the terminal, you will see that this will print in the terminal the actions. I will close this with Ctrl J, and that's great. We have done this page, the Learn Flutter page. Now what we have to do is, did we create this one? I will show you. Yeah, floating action button already works. That's fine. Now what we want to do is create two different pages when we click on home or profile. So when we are on home, we want to display the button, and on profile, we want to display something else. So I will close this Learn Flutter page. We don't need this anymore. And I will go inside the Explorer, so I can open with Ctrl B. And in the library, I will create a new file. This one will be called the profile page.dart. It will be this page. And this will be a stateless widget because we don't need to refresh the screen. Stateless widget, it will be called the profile page. So when you call the name of the class, just make sure that it's not like this. It's with all capital letters for each word. And we still have the same problem as earlier. We need to say quick fix and import the material.dart. Now that we have this, that's pretty great. What we will do is we will go inside the main.dart, and we will create inside, right after the current page, we will create a list of widget. List of widget. This one will be called the pages, for example, is equal to a list like this. And inside we will put the two widgets. So the home page and the profile page. I will say home page and the profile page. Where it is? Profile page. Now you just need to put the const, and the const is put before the list like this. And that's great. Now we can just go inside the body and replace the home page by the pages. So I will say pages, and you need to tell Flutter which page will be used. For this, this is a list, and to tell which item in the list you will use, you open the bracket, and you say, by example, 0. 0 will be the first page, which is the home page, and 1 will be the profile, which is nothing inside. But to be sure just to use the one that we click on it, you just need to put inside the current page. This will be either 0 or 1. So if we save, now if you go on profile, nothing is on the screen. And on home, we have the button to go in the Learn Flutter page. Great. Last thing we need to do is in the profile, we need to create a list. So I will close the main, I will close the home page and just go inside the profile. Inside this one, we will use a list view dot builder. And now if you go over item builder, you will see that this takes a function with a build context and an int inside. So we replace the item builder with a function. Inside we have the build context, which we call just a context. And we have an int, which we can call an index. Now we'll format document. I will put this on the side with Control B. And inside we can return. And what we'll return is a list tile. Just like this. I will put my semicolon. I will save. And I will put a const like this. Oops. Const. I will put my comma. There we go. So now you see we still have nothing, but we will change this. Now you can create a variable. You could say, by example, we can go inside the list view.builder and you can click Control Space. You will have the item count. For the item count, what we will do is we'll just create a variable int. You can put the variable over the class, it's not a problem. So you will say int, which is item count, like this, is equal to 20. And this can be a constant because it will never change. So the item count will now be this, and this is the number of items inside the list view.builder. If we do this, nothing happened because each list style have nothing inside. So in the list style, we will say the title is now this. I think it's a widget. Yep. So we'll say a text widget. Inside we will have the item and save. So this is a list of items. But now you could use something even more cool, and you could use the bracket like this with the $sign, and inside you will be able to put the something. So I will just put the bracket. I will say index plus 1. And this should work. Now we have a problem because of the const. I will remove this. And now if we save, you should see that we have item 1, item 2, item 3. And this is because we use the index, and index starts at 0. So we say 0 plus 1 is equal to item 1. And now we have a list of items. Next thing I want to show you is inside the list style, you have the leading, which can be an icon. And the icon can have icons dot, you can say person or whatever icon you want. I will save. And you can have also a trailing like this. You can say icons dot, I don't know what you can say. You can say select, maybe select all. I will save. I will put my const before like this. Const, save again. And now we have a list of multiple things. You can also have inside the list style the on tap. And this will trigger a function. Inside this one, we'll just debug print like this. Debug print. Come on. Debug print. Let's go. And inside we will use the same thing. Item like this. So item number something selected. Save. And if we open the terminal, when we press on this, item 6 selected, item 3 selected, item 12 selected. Congratulations on following this 1-hour Flutter and Dart tutorials, and I will tell you right now what are the next steps to learn with Flutter. Now the next thing you should learn is how to solve bugs, all the Flutter advanced widgets, the packages, how to use them, how to use state management, local storage, Firebase, which is storage authentication and database, After, you could learn about HTTP requests with Flutter, and finally how to publish your applications. If you want, you can learn all these things by yourself, otherwise I have a complete Flutter beginner course on fluttermap.com and you will learn everything I just told you. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next one. Bye.